Facebook or YouTube or X? Which one?
I'm on
Yeah, go
YouTube.
under the live.
YouTube, go to
Uh,
Soulogy One Studios channel,
yeah,
and it will come up pretty quick if it already hadn't. Let me see.
I've gone into the live section.
No, no, just go to the main page,
Yep.
and it should be showing right there. If it's not, just refresh it. Let's see. Or maybe
Okay.
it's not. There it is. There it is. Yeah, it's on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not showing on live on mine either.
All right. Just refresh your page. I see it on Facebook. Let me
Okay,
check
good.
YouTube. Let me check YouTube. Excuse me.
Mm,
Yes, if you go to YouTube, click Soulogy One Studios. It's playing live now. It's got a picture of Katie because
Oh yeah, there it
she's
is.
the she's the best looking of the three of us by far. So yeah,
Okay, now I
uh,
see it. Now I see it.
my throat chakra is acting up. So this must mean that we're going to enter a courageous, imaginative, intuitive, territory. It's a very powerful time on the earth. In the northern hemisphere, it's 999. And in the southern hemisphere, which always leads the way, they're coming out on the other side. So half the world's dying and half the world is being birthed. But in the spirit of all that, in the spirit of synchronicity, serendipity, timing and the graces of the gods and goddesses, uh, we're in the third week of this natural organic unfoldment and evolution with our brother Gareth Jenkins. And he spoke of Katie Kiss in a couple of the shows, and here we are, the three of us sitting down, not knowing what we're going to talk about. Certainly to expand on Garrett's story and Katie's involvement with that, and Katie's own journey, who she is, what she is, and how she got here with all these weirdos. But it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for entering this sacred space with me. I can feel for the last 2 or 3 hours, really all day, but really intensified like the last 2 hours. And I have to believe it's our energy, it's our openness to come together in this forum, in this moment. I really do, because doing so many thousand shows over the years, we used to have like tech difficulties in the beginning. And if anybody wants to see a really good example of that, look at the first David Icke interview, because he turned into three David Icks and all this weird stuff happened. And he said, this has never happened before. And the man does like 250 podcasts a year. But back in the old days, people would say, oh, there's interference. And as time went on, I realized it was our own energy. So it can be a little bit cell, at a cellular level, kind of electric and magnetic too. Certainly within the mirrors that we're looking at of each other. So thank you for coming in, both of you. And it's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be here, and I'm excited to see what it brings.
Yeah,
Same.
thanks for having me on. And that interference could be interference too, malicious interference. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well,
Don't
it
want you
could
to
be.
hear. Yeah, yeah,
Well, it could be, but at the end of the day, oneness is oneness, so it's got to be tied back to us in some way.
true. Good
And I
point.
think that's part of the human where we're at. As we're being forced to be in presence with ourselves by force or flow, and linear goes away, and it becomes a very now experience. It's all us, and
Mhm.
that's just another big pill we have to swallow. But yeah,
I tell the story sometimes of after my awakening. My awakening was pretty abrupt, and I was in the car with my mother, and she's 81, and she has followed along with me lockstep. She just hasn't questioned anything. She's very interested. She's a believer, loves God. And I was driving and I cursed someone who cut me off, and I said, what do they think they're the only person in the universe? And my mom goes, well, they are. Just like didn't even skip a beat. Well, they are.
I,
Those,
It was
I
perfect.
I had a hand in raising six kids, and the last two was by myself, and they were females. And it was at the beginning of my awakening. So they were like 11, 12. So I got them at the, at the same time they're coming into their own awareness. And it was kind of like a parallel with Soulogy. But one day, I used to have these Friday afternoon after school sessions because you would come into my house, you would come through some patio doors, sliding glass doors through the patio, through the back. And the kitchen was there. And I'd be sitting there waiting because I knew they were going to come in on a Friday night and they're going to say, Dad, we want to go do this and we want to go do that and this and that. And I'd have these long discussions. So one day, I kind of lost it and I said, Listen, what do you think? You are the center of the universe? And the double entendre and oxymoron effect of it just hit me. You know how when you ask a question, you hear the answer at the same time? It was like that.
Yeah.
And then my little kid says, the littlest one said something like, yeah. So I kicked the basketball or some kind of ball. It wasn't a basketball. It would have been too big. I kicked it, it hit the ceiling, went down on a glass table and shattered all the glass. And so from that
Ooh,
moment, I shut that, you know what up, and started to
yeah.
see them for the souls they were. Yeah. Thank you
Wait
for
a
that
minute.
memory. Thank you for that
There,
memory.
there's no swearing on Soulogy Speaks. I'm out.
No, fuck that.
Okay. Okay.
What are you talking
Okay.
about? This is why Soulgy's so underground all these years. It's
That's
so
it.
underground.
I mean,
Okay.
Katie's from New York and I'm from Australia, so
Yeah.
swearing's going to happen. It's but I've got to say, actually, the Arcturian said to me once, "You're all the center of the universe,"
Yeah. Of course.
and they showed me that 0.5D thing, like all the points just went funk into
Yeah.
one moment. And Tom God said to me, "You are all as a star." And science doesn't know this yet, but there's actually a singularity at the core of every star. A black hole essentially is right in the center because of the gravitation. So
Mm.
everything comes from 5D outward. So stars reflect that too, and light. That's what makes the universe. So that co-creating thing that you were talking about earlier it's huge, and that's what basically the human race is coming into, our own power to co-create. Instead of doing it unconsciously through mind control conditioning, we're
Mm.
coming back to an awareness. Oh, okay, if we want the world to change, we need to think differently and own our own power and not just give it away reflexively, which is
Yeah.
Which we've done.
what's
Yeah.
happened here.
Yeah. Which we're having to own now.
Yes.
That's why the Great Awakening is so palpable. The Great Awakening, it's an avalanche. It's a snowball's effect right now. It's so big. It just pre-awakened Katie to post-awakened Katie, and who is around her and what she thinks and knows and says is unrecognizable. They're unrecognizable.
Mm.
Yeah,
Quickly.
Unbelievable.
yeah. And since we
Quickly.
met, what was that, 3 years ago, almost to the day now, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And and that's another thing actually, Todd, and this is what I've seen throughout my life is these sort of intersecting trajectories, like the timing of Katie going through her awakening or just snapping out of this trance and asking some deep questions. The trajectory she went through between her there and us connecting and what I went through, and then since then, is just like the when you look back, you see the connection between all the experiences. At the time you're going through them, you don't. And that's a really, really important point for everyone right now who's watching this now. Like it's such a subconscious process because that's where the foundation of our paradigm is like tree roots. It's subconscious. So we can't see the impact of what we've experienced from the time we were born to this moment, but that's where our point of view emanates from. So we're conscious of it to a point, but to transform how you see things, your paradigm, it's a process you can't control because you're inside the paradigm, your attention is. So this process, snapping out of it and just asking, hang on a minute, what's going on? I can't see it. Something's going on. I've got to change it. As soon as you do that, you switch back on as a receiver, is the way Tom put it. That question, you will receive the answer. And that's what's happening, whether you know it or not. It's because we don't understand the framework we're seeing things from and how it's getting in our way. Of course, we can't change it. It's not an act of will. You've got to surrender to that question. And then life, like you said at the start of the call, it's all one. And Tom, actually, God said, we wish you to know we are not God. You and us together make God. And for that, we love you. And it was when he said it, there was a dot, dot, dot. Do you love life unconditionally? Or does it have to be a certain way for you to be happy? And that's the only problem anyone's got. We think it's all got to be a certain way. And that point of view is what's creating the issue. So
Hmm.
being undone from that point of view is a very subconscious process. But you start to have like Katie, I'm sure will back it up. You look back and you can go, oh wow. You can see the intelligence behind the sequence of events. And at a certain point, something in you relaxes. There's something in you about your direct connection to life that you internalize that you are being guided and you do have the ability to meet it. And you can become conscious of it. There's something that relaxes about it, and you stop fighting the process, and that hits
You
accelerates it.
do?
You do, yeah, you do, you do. It's the problem is you keep getting put into the into the discomfort zone because that's where the paradox between how we see life and what life actually is lives.
We
It's
talked about
uncomfortable.
we talked
Yeah.
about that. You were talking about because I made a joke and I said, yeah, we want to go from our comfort zone, which is uncomfortable, to the unknown uncomfortable. You know what I mean? But yeah, the thing is, what you're talking about, like, and that's why I was saying that. I thought what Katie said at the beginning was excellent because it always works both ways. And the minute we throw down an absolute onto the universal, we're basically saying, yeah, I love it all, but this. I love it all, but that part over there, just keep it over there. It's not me. I
Hmm.
wrote what I felt like was, my soul came in really strong last night. Really, yeah, last night. And then through dream state and the lucid dreams.
Hmm.
And it was such a loud message. I've never had messages come in like this in lucid dreams, and I've had many, and they were successive. I woke up at 5:30 and 6:30, 7:30, fed the cats, went back, and every hour it was the same thing, and it was so lucid, just different scenarios. But what it was intrusion. So, for instance, the last two dreams were me being in my home and people coming into the home and like breaking in. They had tools and everything and breaking in, coming in and just making themselves at home. And I was like, what are you doing? You know, like get the F out of here. Fuck this shit, and fix what you damaged and all that. But through it all, I understood that we were reaching a point where the narcissistic realm itself is being neutralized because it is a narcissistic realm. And so it took me into this whole personal thing throughout the day with many mirrors, right? Things come into your head and memories and all that. And it's really about us. It's like knowing the things that you talked about on the first two shows, the things that are congruent and with you and Katie, the things we recognize in each other and ourselves. And that's what I'm going with. So I ended up, my soul said, I wrote this thing out because I write all the time. My soul said, you need to post that. I said, I don't want to post that. That's not something I want to post. But as we're all learning, um, we we have followed this voice. Your story is very magnified. We have followed this voice. And I used to say for a long time back in the early days of Soulogy, this is where all the crazy people hang out. But crazy isn't crazy anymore. So
No.
I saw this meme and it said anyone else's spirit rejecting almost everything right now. Things,
Mhm.
places, people I used to be able to tolerate. I can't
Can't.
anymore. Right? And then this is where my soul came in and said, you got to put this up. And I'm going to read this not to give myself because it's not. I'm not saying it's anything, I'm just doing what my soul said, right? So it was like from those lucid dreams when I woke up, excuse me, it was like regarding the cycles of completion, intrusion, intrusion, like was on my mind. And the message came in crystal clear. The baseline programming we're transforming is narcissistic. The realm is by design narcissistic, and all who enter it are imprinted by it, being a subject to the human condition in the inverted phase over the past 12,000 years, 15,000 years. We want to run from the labels beginning with the letters NARC because it mustn't be us carrying narcissistic frequencies. Doesn't make you a narcissist. However, what does it matter if we become aware to the subtle rooted patterns and therefore neutralize them by our admission of them within ourselves? Because we've gone through the experience, it has been imprinted upon us. And so I won't read the rest of it, but what it goes into is how the subtle nature of it is. I use the example of opinions. To live in a world without opinions, to live in a world where there is none of that, a world where there is no need for forgiveness. That is the how the higher dimensions roll.
Yep.
So to say, and thank you for letting me speak this in this moment, but the bottom line is, I mean, this is how we roll, and if it's inevitable, then let's go for it now. Because I think the energy is that strong and the connections are starting to be made like this.
It's
Yeah.
happening.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, that was excellent. That was excellent. Yeah, Gareth, I'll say the first thing that popped into my mind regarding opinions was you insist you have a human nature. Is that what you thought about, Gareth?
Yeah, that's something that I was told in the first conversation with Tom. If you don't know who Tom is, Tom is God. He gave the name Tom, spokesman for the Council of Nine, and I spoke with him in '97 twice, 3.5 months apart. And that's one of the things he said. You insist you have a human nature. And that's the thing, like it kind of puts the ball back in our court. Well, if we don't have a human nature, this because that's often used to write off this the effect of the inversion that's had on people. We go through traumatic experiences that pull us out of ourselves when we're children, and we forevermore we're in reaction mode, and a persona forms around it, and then of course you're suppressing a lot of truth of who you are, and that energy comes out sideways. Because it's really just a messenger saying there's something for you to see. You've left a part of yourself behind because your mind has made a conclusion that's wrong. That's all that behavior is doing. But it's externalized and it's used to blame the person as wrong, which reinforces the belief we had when we're pulled out of ourselves that we're not right as we are. So it seems like the outside world and how we behave is proving that premise when really it's the other way around. It's just an alert, like a dream image. There's a language to the patterns of behavior and the impact it has on people around you. There's a language to that. So when you know how to read it, it reverses the inversion of how you see yourself. And but so often it's used, oh, what can you do? That's human nature. Bad. And it's used to reinforce the idea that we need a control system. This myth of human nature, it's one of the key parts of the control narrative.
It
That
perpetuates poor behavior as well.
does. Yeah, that's
It,
the
it,
irony.
it the allowance to not walk in integrity.
Yeah.
So awakening basically is walking in integrity, seeing the inversion in everything, and that walking backwards through how you behaved and who you were and what you thought you believed. I mean, Gareth said that a minute ago, and I thought to myself, and it is not easy. It is not easy. I can know all the things, but I have been in hell for 6 years. I can know all the things. I can choose, and if somebody tells me you're choosing this, they can fuck right off. I am a very happy person. I travel. I tried the supplements, the tools, the tricks, the meditations, the retreats, all of it, all of it. And it's because it's subconscious. We're undoing thousands of years of programming. We're undoing the behavior and the beliefs and everything we thought we were for our current lifetime. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Absolutely. and you can't control it. And that again, that goes right to the heart of the core of the problem, that we need to control ourselves in life and we need a control system out there. And all that does is reinforce the need for control. That's the irony. And I remember one of the teachers I came across when I asked for help, I was brought through a process, was Ramana Maharshi. And he's kind of part of what the Arcturians described as the four pillars of the transition, which I mentioned at the end of the last call. And he said the only way to know fear isn't real is to let it come and get you. And that's a big part of what happens when you hit the wall, this paradigm. You start to wake up, let's say, because essentially the reason we're in control is we're afraid that of the reaction we'll get when we're children. And that just builds up into this really complex reflection of the need for control that it gets so big and complicated you can't figure out how to move out of it. You can't even see it clearly. And that's what happens when you let go of control. You're brought into a process where you're brought into moments, reverse engineered, going back through time, where that fear reaction grabbed a piece of you and froze it in time. So you can learn the premise. Like one of the things Ramana Maharshi said, you are not your mind. So this thinking structure that we call our personality, that's not who we are. But how do you get your attention out of it? When you're in it, that's all you've ever known. This truth of who we are. We were so young when we were pulled out of it, and our mind hadn't had a chance to form a structure around it, words, describe it, in other words, discern it. That we were pulled into this inversion process that we have so many descriptions for and a lifetime of experiences that seem to reinforce it as real. How do you get your attention out of it? And that's what he brought in physically through direct experience is the path of self-inquiry. Look back, turn your attention back at the story you're telling yourself and ask yourself, is it really true? Can you really know that you aren't lovable as you are? You can't really say you do know. And do you really know that that person over there is X, Y, and Z problem, has X, Y, and Z problem?
Yeah.
As the Nazarene said, you've got to walk in someone else's shoes to really understand. And God told me you do not truly know a thing until you've lived it. So this opinion versus the reality of the experience, the opinion, it's like saying you know everything about Africa when you've never been there,
Yeah.
because you've read about it or you know about it, but you don't really know it until you've experienced it. So
But
this,
it's funny that we had to police ourselves from as young as two to be accepted and fit in and be okay and be in the lane. And so and I just was telling you yesterday, Gareth, that so I changed my beliefs. At the core of Katie, the loving, funny, whatever Katie is still Katie, but I changed my beliefs and who I was. And basically, I proved that people were loving me conditionally because they withdrew their love when I could not show up the way they needed me to show up, the way they were used to me showing up. I could no longer do it, and they're gone.
And vice versa.
yeah, well, there's no connection.
But
And
they're, yeah, vice
You know what I
versa.
mean? Because it's like I shouldn't have stopped reading that because Gareth took up right where I left off. But I'm going to read a little bit of it, and it'll be self-explanatory. Um, what I'm getting is that these patterns, because I get from what both of you are saying and so many people I talk to, we have identified the programming, the fear programming, the death programming, all of it, right? The structure of it. But there are these patterns, right? So what I'm getting is that these patterns are being wiped out. But like everything else, the clearings have to go through each one of us individually, affecting the whole.
yeah,
It sounds a lot easier than it is, to be sure. Opinions will be the toughest because they are in the vast majority unsolicited, rooted in superior, inferior, hierarchical, separation, division, competition, comparison, narcissistic.
mm,
Opinions are intrusive and narcissistic. Frequencies are intrusive, Look at all the places we are intrusive: parents, teachers, bosses, friends, partners, strangers, children. It's in virtually every role we take: job, contract, lien on a house, taxes. I mean, it's in the whole infrastructure. So, what I
Mm.
came to was it's not by what we claim we are not that will drive unity consciousness, but rather to claim what we have been and are, right up to the point of awareness's neutralization, right? Because everyone's been subjected to the same thing. And I said, because it's Soulogy, a mind fuck for the aged. It's time, way
Yeah.
past time to unwind it. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. This is a both a humiliating and humble point of the 0 point. I think one of you mentioned that, or somebody mentioned that in the comments.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, humility and, like Katie was saying, integrity and how much we've acted out of integrity. And we don't really want to own it because it feeds that idea that we're not lovable as we are. And that's humiliating. And so we push it away. But really, all that is, reintegrating yourself back to unity, back to wholeness. So all these parts of ourselves that we locked away. I mean, basically, you go through life, especially when you're young, you go through a whole lot of series of experiences that you can't process at the time that trigger that feeling. So they get locked away, and you cover them with a mask. And there's a lack of truth to that. It's essentially a lie that you aren't lovable as you are. And that lie spreads out into the opinions. So we are lying to ourselves and to each other, but it's not about shame. And we feeling again, the only way to know fear isn't real is to let it come and get you. The fear that we are that. The only way to experience directly that you aren't is to be pulled back through situations that trigger you. So this is what I experienced when I asked for help. The distance between me kneeling on the floor and saying, I don't know who you are, where you are, what you are, please help, and me meeting God, which was about 4 years, it was me going through a certain amount of that process of being stripped of a lot of the sense of self that I'd kind of built up over the years by being taken into situations that I had to kind of deal with in the moment that were not comfortable. But it did something that I couldn't control. It was like free falling, and that's what happened when I was 9. I was telling Katie about this um, realization. When I was 9, I fell 3 stories off a roof, and I was lowered to the ground in a giant hand and shown everything, life, the universe, everything, and where I fit in, where everyone fits in. It was a lot, and I hit the ground without any pain. With I barely felt it, let alone I should have broken bones, but nothing happened. And that was an analogy for what will happen when I ask for help. Or you're free falling through life now because you can't control something that you can't understand, and you realize you don't understand the problem you've got, but it's too big to just suppress now. We spend all our lives suppressing this until it builds up to a point where it just bursts through and it can't be contained anymore. But it contains all the opinions that we've formed. So, like you say, that's the first thing you see. But you get taken reverse engineered through this process back through time. So even though I knew I would get information or awareness that I could integrate at the time and click, something in me went, yes, that's true. But there was still years of Gareth that didn't know that was true yet, that I had to move through in time moving forward. So dealing with a lack of integrity was really just
I'm
putting
sorry. I was
myself,
laughing. I was laughing. I was muted, but I'm saying I think that's what's happening to people now.
it's happening to everybody.
I believe that, right?
Hmm.
I mean, look, there. If we're going to be giving any credibility to the life experiences that we've all had, as we move into a place where we hold none of them higher than the other, they're all the same. The stories look different. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how compelling the story is. Then I think we have to also, I feel that we have to also give reverence to the level of let's just use, human terms, tech, code, energy, awareness in a given moment. So in any given moment, like take the three of us, we can actually maximize the potential of the sharing, giving, receiving in this moment. And anyone that witnesses is a part of that. And I know a lot of people, and I know for myself, as I've had rituals and ceremony, um, impromptu or scheduled, let's just say, there's something about the third element, the witnessing of such, right? Something's going on that's higher than all of our human comprehension, regardless of the aspects we have connected to. We are physically in this field of consciousness within ourselves and now with each other that is not demanding. It's just saying oneness is oneness.
Yeah.
End of the day. Dark, light, evil, good, those working against you, those working for you. It's
Yeah.
all in the same
It's
place.
all
And
one.
you guys are centered in it in the most physical, dense incarnation or realm or simulation we've ever constructed. And that is the you, me, we, and it. Owning all of it. I think one of you said this, or both of you said this. It's in the living of it. It's in the experience. I can tell you whatever I want to tell you, and vice versa. But until we walk through that door that we were reluctant to, I think
Yeah.
that's why good friends actually trigger the hell out of each other. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Katie, what did you have to do to wake up?
Um, what do you mean? What did I have to do? I mean,
Anything?
lo lo lose a baby, father died, the whole pandemic happened, and one day I was one way and the next I was another. And I couldn't be around anybody I loved comfortably. I and this is bigger than us. This in some odd way has nothing to do with us. The story of Katie or Gareth or Todd, like just what Todd just said. This is so much bigger than us because we are one. And leaving the house and going out there, out there, it's really challenging. Staying in the house is really challenging. I don't know, it's really challenging right now. I've not wanted to be here for a really long time, and I'm starting to come out the other end of that pendulum. I've said it many times. Gareth saved my life. God brought in support in droves, communities I'm in. But nothing really touches the pain, um, the desperation, nothing really touches it except my faith. It's a very odd time. You're talking to someone who did not know they had God, did not believe in anything like that. My mother did not believe in anything like that. I mean, everything's just everything's everything's challenging right now. Everything is so hard for everyone. And I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Awakening was hard. It almost killed me.
Well, that's the thing with this. I mean, what I was really getting at is it's like not so much that we do the transition, but the transition's doing us. It's
Doing
un
us. That's what
yeah,
you were getting at. Of course,
yeah.
I go to the physical.
I mean, that's the same thing for me. I didn't decide one day that I would wake up to the truth of who I am. It's
I didn't
like,
ask for this.
no, none of us did. And
It's bigger than all of us. It
that's a
is
big
you,
challenge I
me,
think a
we,
lot
and
of
it.
people are
Yeah.
facing. Yeah, it's like, I don't want this. And um, I didn't ask for it. And why is this happening? And that can be a bit of a factor, I think. But um, the fact is, it's happening anyway. And that's one thing Ramana Maharshi said. And I really highly recommend people just connect with with that. That's what the Arcturians described as true north. Like remember, God said we are reversing the inversion with you. So if you take the ego in service to the consciousness the ego arises in, and the consciousness, let's say heart and head, there's a divine order to that. There's a natural state that they operate in. Consciousness comes first and then thought. That's just common sense. You can't be aware of a thought unless you're aware first. But what the inversion's done through fear of we're not lovable as we are, it puts thought first, the idea of what you need to be, supersedes consciousness, pure consciousness receiving reality. So instead of receiving the truth, we filter it through this belief system that says things aren't right as they are. I need to figure out how to change it so that they are right. I've got to fix the world so I will be better. I've got to fix myself so the world receives me properly. And then I don't think anyone on this call could say they honestly feel like they've ever been seen or heard. Now, what's the problem with that? Is it because no one's seeing or hearing us, or because we don't see or hear ourselves? And this is what Ramana Maharshi talks about, reversing the inversion. You aren't your mind, and turning your attention away from the external world and putting it back on the one who's aware, like by challenging the story. So his whole premise is meet the feeling, like whatever we're all feeling right now, we can put labels on it, opinions about the feeling. Just let the feeling be there. The one thing we've never done, just okay, he said, when you argue with what is you suffer, the fact is you feel dark. Spirituality likes to put a mask of light on the top of dark and think that that does the job. And I've got to say, that's just another form of suppression. You've just made the dark real by doing that. The only way to know fear isn't real is to let it come and get you. The only way to know the darkness has no form, it isn't anything at all except the unknown, is to turn around and look at it. Now, that is intensely uncomfortable because, of course, we feel the feeling and we describe what it is like we always have, this belief system. But the whole premise of satsang, the path of self-inquiry is what letting go of control, Tom said, let go of control. What that looks like is challenge the story you're telling yourself about what you're experiencing and what you've always lived through and who everybody else is. Let them be there. Describe it like you always have, and then and then have this part of yourself looking at the story you're telling yourself about the feeling, the definition of why you're suffering, and ask yourself if it's true. Just keep doing that in each moment. Just keep coming back to each moment. Stop arguing, firstly, with how you feel and what you think. Let it be there because all you're doing
Yeah.
is real by trying to pretend you
Which
don't
goes
think.
back to the first thing you said with his encounter, with the encounter with Tom, which was about the human, the question about how do you know, right? Like,
You insist you have a human nature?
right, when he said
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
which set me off on my post that,
Yeah,
had to be synchronized or somehow or another converging with the energies of you, both of you, and other people, because it is, as the individual goes, so goes the collective. So my real question is, after doing 4,000 plus shows and getting back into it now, thank you, Gareth, and thank you, Katie, because Gareth set something off like 2 weeks ago, and it couldn't have just been me. It was just a sign of the time, so to speak, and so
exactly.
much has come in from there. So my point is this: I believe, and I'm not saying that it's the gospel truth, but I believe that there needs to be some credence given to the level of individual awareness, epiphany, revelation, right? Transformation that is in equanimity with everyone else, especially those that come into your field in a very physical nature, because we know this is the most dense experience the multiverse has ever had. We know this. So the information is real time. The information to me, like talking to you, is real time. It's like saying, hey, they know what I know. It may not be conscious at the human level, but whatever, it's like yin yang. Whatever I have that I can't see in myself, they do. And the more open I am to this exchange, the more that comes in. I'm not going to be able to comprehend it to the nth degree at the human level, but
Mhm.
I think it speaks to the level of continuity and unity and oneness that's coming online. And that's why I really feel like this personal expansion that we're having is one thing. But if I look at 2012, December to 2012, 24, like that my soul told me that's the first half. The second half starts now. The difference is we're doing it with each other. We're doing it with each other without programming. We're doing it from an open heart. We're doing it from humility and humiliation in the sense of everything that we're losing as identities is it's a bit painful. And I said for years, another way to say I am soul, which is the number one, you know, hashtag you might say from Soulogy, is to say I've shown my ass. So we're doing the same, but at such a high level that all the multiverse, and we know this, we're the center of it now, the center of it all, because we're containing all. Our guides, our angels, our archangels, our connections to the elemental, et cetera, they're not in the physical, they're not the boots on the ground. We are. So our intel is as important as theirs. And I really feel like that's what we're coming into, and it will it's like the kind of energy that speaks for itself. It's its own protection and creative flow. And the more of us that step into it, because it does require vulnerability and authenticity and truly transparency. That is the nature of the universe,
But
pureness.
but like Gareth's question to me, which I misunderstood, of what did you have to do, Katie, to wake up, was like you can't you can't assist anybody else in waking up. It is a purely personal, individual path. And what did Ramana say, Gareth? Do not suggest
Yeah.
anybody get on the spiritual path
Yeah.
because it's this hell. It's not rainbows and butterflies. This shit is hard. It is solitary. We are alone, essentially. But in our aloneness is that looking at the humiliation and the humility and becoming the magnet and the bright light that brings people in.
Mm.
Like, and then I thought about how I answered Gareth's question, which I misunderstood, with the story of Katie, with
Mm.
the stories that brought me to my awakening that don't even exist anymore, that aren't even real. They're like my trauma, whatever. It's not even real. The truth of who you are is untouched by any of it.
Yeah, that's what Ramana said. And that's a real key reference point. And that's what the goal of letting the story and the feeling be there and let it have its way with you when you stop arguing with it and realize you can't argue with the way you feel and the story because there it is. But what you can do is receive it and look at it objectively. And something happens when you do that. You become vulnerable to the truth. And that triggers the very problem right to the core. Being vulnerable to the pain of being rejected. You know,
I don't care
the
anymore.
well, that's what I think fundamentally that's the only real way to know you're worthy of love is to not hide yourself. But you can't, it's very difficult for people to just go from one to the other. And it's not an act of will. In fact, it's not an
Mm-mm.
act of will. You can't undo yourself. You can only let the reality of where you're at right now, be there without arguing with it, but with a sense of knowing that there is a natural state, that you have a natural state that has nothing to do with any of your suffering. And that's the bit that's always been missing with people. And Tom said, what's the problem facing humanity right now? What's the problem all of us have really with this transition right now that's happening right in this moment? What's the problem? And he said, the ego that controls, as opposed to the ego in service to self, the inversion, the ego that controls, lack of a belief in an absolute reality, that there is a truth to who you are and where you are that has nothing to do with this story, which is the real problem. It's not, you're not describing the reality of why you're in pain and how X, Y, and Z is the problem. You're describing the description itself is the problem because it's not true. Now, the only way to know it isn't true is to go back to the moment where you thought it was and directly experience the reality that it's not true.
Which
How
is
do
the
you
day
do
you were
that?
born.
You can't do that. Yeah, you can't be the one doing it. But when you let go of control, you connect directly. You have this is what Ramana Maharshi kept saying, that the key is to have a direct experience of reality, not an indirect. Well, what does that mean? It means that we've been living through this mind conclusion, which pulls us out of the moment and puts us in a mental structure, which means we're living everything indirectly. We're not actually living in the moment. We're not fully, David Deida is one of the four pillars of the transition, is the way the Arcturians describe these four modalities. And he spoke what his whole thing is putting the feminine masculine back in connection, in back in their true place, which is the same thing as heart feminine, mind masculine. And he spoke about that. Um, yeah, the being the masculine presence is the key with the masculine is to be fully present in the moment, to be fully present in the moment, which is to let the moment undo your conclusions, which aren't right, and to have the humility to know that. Because for men, this inversion process, it means we've got to be somebody who knows. We've got to be somebody who is reliable, who is the X, Y, and Z, because we don't think we are. And all we do is reinforce this belief that we aren't
But
capable of meeting
let me ask you
life.
this. Let me ask you this. Are we at such a level of personal and collective awareness that there is something to be said for the words we speak and the way we explain things? And I know it's a fine line, or it's getting harder and harder because we're going from a human language, you might say, to this above telepathy language. But to make the differentiation between a physical man and woman, I totally understand and get that you're in a male body, I'm in a male body, she's in a female body. There's a reason for it. There's been a lot of distortion put out there, and I have no opinion on that, in recent years with some of this DEI and all that. My point is that there's a part of us that you describe to a T eloquently, but there's also another part to us. And for me, I can say, and I will say this, I don't think I ever thought I would, but I know I'm as in touch with my feminine as most women, if not the vast majority. Okay. But by the same token, the other side too, there's a humiliation, there's a humility of owning that whole story of that last line of separation and division that carries an energetic strength that's more powerful than anything because it's pulsating from the earth. It's pulsating from the most frequencies assembled because it's at the center of it all. So if this is an experience or an experiment, I can see where those two things merging at a soul level, so to speak, not knowing what that brings, really, because we don't know. And that's part of it all. I've heard so many people talk over the years. This has been the greatest seat in the multiverses. And I think I told you that. And I really mean that. But one thing I realized was everybody's experienced the same thing. And the significance of the story and how it played out for them is significant in the expression when they retell it. But it's all the same thing. Okay? And you can look at that two ways. One, we're fucking soul. Period. In the story, there doesn't need to be a fucking discussion. We're above telepathic. And the other one is we've all been subjected to the human experience. And as long as we're in this body, we are in the human condition. And it is not a curse. It is actually where this new code is made. Like moments like this, open discussions or open intimacy. Because to me, this is the same thing.
Yeah,
You know,
well, I mean, there's a reason why separation, the illusion of separation exists, and the most physically dense expression of that is the human race, and that's there was a specific reason for that. But in the end, separation is an illusion that serves a divine order. It serves a purpose, and getting back to Deidre, the masculine and feminine, that's the primary illusion of separation is the masculine and feminine. The only way to unify um, mind, body, and soul back to the divine order, the truth of who you are, is to allow both masculine and feminine to to be um, to be in balance with each other.
Balance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
But
means your belief.
let me ask you this, and are you making the distinction that I'm making, both of you, Katie, uh, Gareth? I understand that polarity through all the dimensions that I've been blessed to experience, right, is always there. I would say up until like the ninth for myself, right? But there's always a polarity. There's always this paradox. But I'm just saying, in this particular realm, the last line of separation is the masculine and feminine.
It's
So
the
if there's a
first.
war, right? You know what I'm
That was
talking
the
about?
first attack.
Of
I
course.
mean,
So yes, of
yeah.
course. So what, I always look at it like this. In the beginning, there was one, and we were that star I think Gareth brought up earlier, right? Like zzz, the light's perfect, the tone's perfect, everything's perfect. And somebody, probably me, said, "Hey, man, let's see what we can get into." And it came from our feminine side. So you split it, and in that evolution, she, the mother, learns that she must love unconditionally, that there is no control. The things that Garrett's talking about, and that's the way it evolves. But this is a distortion. So this takes what is real and makes it look different. And so therefore the battle of the sexes, the differences, the things we must and must not do, or whatever the case is. So all I'm saying is that for me, there's a distinction between the other dimensions and this particular realm, which is kind of like a fishbowl in the corner of the multiverse, is upside down all by itself, operating by a totally different rule, which there is this difference. And that difference at its baseline is the masculine and feminine. And it's not real because they're one soul. And if nothing less, two parts of one soul.
Well, I mean, the whole reason the inversion exists is because the foundation of it is the false premise that the fundamental nature of polarity is conflict when it's actually unity.
Mm,
So that plays out primarily, firstly, within each person, the conflict between their heart connection to the universe and their mind, masculine, feminine. And then it plays out in relationships, and then it plays out in the structure of the civilization. So it becomes more and more physical, and it's that fundamental split within each human. We co-create reality. So we've created an entire civilization based on that error. And
right.
reversing the inversion is to get your belief system back in divine right alignment with your heart connection to the universe, which is what it is. Full stop, end
Here,
of
here.
story.
Here, here.
And
Yeah.
that's why it's so intense, because the reflection now of our own conflict with the truth of who we are is everywhere around us and we can't deny it. And everyone's having to deal with that reality
Mhm.
and doing it in different ways. And even the people who are saying, and Katie and I were talking about this earlier today, even the people out there in the normal world who insist there's nothing to look at, they're having the conversation with they're arguing now about the idea that there's something to look at, which never
Mhm.
happened before.
Right.
Even even they're having to react against the idea that there's a truth that has nothing to do with how they've seen reality, and they don't want to look at it. But that's the
Mm.
thing. It's in their field now, whether they like it or not. So
Yep.
it
Whether
doesn't
they're
matter
awake or not. Yep.
exactly. And
Yep.
so they're arguing with it absolutely, and that's something that wasn't happening 5 years ago.
Yeah. So it's
My
happening.
family- Exactly. I mean, at Christmas time when I turn up to my family, they can't leave it alone.
It's
Because it
it's becoming more prevalent. There's no question about it. And I feel for myself that the the well, the importance of the witnessing or the observation of it happening out there, I cannot let it take away from what I might be missing in the same vein within myself. And I've gone through this for the last 24 hours in particular with some of the stuff I've written. I've kind of expressed it. And that is any element that comes from this realm, this experience or experiment, which we've all been subjected to. So that should just clear everybody right there. And if you can't understand unity consciousness, then, I'm sorry, I can't help you because we've all been subjected to the same thing. So if that's true, That means
Right.
whatever we were coming into it was what we were. And to
What we
take a
are.
judgment or whatever, or a prejudice or a bias towards another now is just like becoming something the universal energy is not going to allow you to hold. And that's what you're talking about. So it's like, I feel like the consciousness is at a point where everything is upside down. You could have three people talking with 45 people watching, but the pulsations of the energy coming from the openness and coming from the authenticity and transparency and really openness to be learning in the moment is the most powerful pulsations that are happening on the grid. And if they're happening on the grid in the most dense place in the multiverse, in this place and time, which many people that have come on the show over the years, and including my own intel, has been, we've never done anything like this before. I think Gareth even talked to that, right? We've never done this before. So whatever we're doing at the human conscious level with an open heart, an open field, is the most powerful contribution we can make. And truly, the universe is gaining from us as we have gained from it, if not in equanimity, more and more as time goes on, as we step into our power. But it's totally unconventional. It's totally incomprehensible. It's unexplainable. It doesn't matter what our journeys are. We're walking into a space where we're butt naked to the soul,
Yes. Yep.
and that's it. And you show up and go, well, this is my life and I have these skills and abilities. But you know what? We're all butt naked to the fucking soul and we're all the same thing. We're all
Yeah.
soul, but we're showing our ass at the same time. How are you? It's like, an immediate leveling of the playing field. Thank you for letting me speak. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing that the density thing, God said to me that you are the most physically dense race in the universe. What people don't realize is that the reason it's physically dense as it is because we created it. And that happened at the destruction point of Atlantis. We were five-dimensional. He said all self-aware life is five-sided, five-dimensional. But we chose through free will. This is the only planet of choice, the only planet of free will to the extent that we have it. We chose to go into the dark side. We chose desire. We wanted things the way we wanted them in a particular theater of experience of life. And that put us at odds with the reality of who we are and where we are. So that free will has to be honored. The universe took the form around us that honored that free will choice. So we shut down our 10% of our capacity, our DNA shut down, our brain capacity shut down, our capacity to operate in the world became extremely dense. So we had to work out how to live that way. And it makes everything very external. But what's actually taking place, so look at Atlantis as this point on the horizon, that Atlantean age of the destruction 12,500 years ago, is we've gone through this life purpose process all the way back to full circle. So now
Mm.
we're coming back to 5D. We're right on the edge of coming back
That's
to
where we
what we.
say we've had enough of this shift.
Well, the thing is, though, about that is the reason we made that choice 12,500 years ago is because we didn't understand the ramifications. We couldn't
I,
see
you
what
know, I, yeah, I get what you're
now we
saying, but
can.
but do you feel, Gareth? Let me ask you
Lived it.
this: do you feel that when we made that choice 12,500 years ago, or let me just say this: do you feel potentially that we will come into the memory, the remembrance that 12,500 years ago we made that choice from a soul level, and we
Well, we
weren't
came
blind.
from our ego.
But I'm just saying we weren't blind. We said, hey, let's jump into this thing, the last hoorah, and really make it crazy so we can go into the depths to bring uh, uh, equaling degrees of the light into form. Like, in other words, we went through hell to create a new heaven beyond our wildest imagination, which I believe is happening now.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, it was our soul. It was the purpose the human race was created for. Yeah, it was to live all the way through the dark and come back to the light at the most physically dense level. And
Mm.
that's going to have a massive impact on the universe as a whole. And that's the whole reason the human race was put together in the first place. So yes, we made an error of judgment, but in the big picture sense, that was the reason we existed, to make that to make that. We could have seen through the problem all the way at the time, but the fact is we have now a direct experience of everything in the playbook that the dark has to tempt life to go against itself, to basically weaponize life against itself, use free will to to destroy life, your heart connection, and become just a conduit for the darkness instead.
which is us, right?
Yeah.
Like
So
I think we talked about this. Like, who better to fake you out but yourself?
Mm.
well, what
And
happened on
and
this planet
but
can't
you know
happen.
what I'm saying is like if you said there, and I'm not like arguing with you. I'm just saying I think where we're in this transition, we're in this phase where there is no in between. We have to make the leap from a human perspective or perception, which our perceptions separate us because there's 8 billion different perceptions, and there's one soul uh, beehive connection, right? Okay. And so the error that we made was actually the choice that the soul made, knowing that as we went into the experience, we're going to forget this stuff. And that was the catalyst. That's what you're talking about. The catalyst being, get me the hell out of here. What is this? You know what I mean? Like, and as we're moving into this soul singular perception, perspective, understanding, awareness, vantage point, this is what I was talking about earlier when I asked you the question. As you come into something, there is a potential that I can come into the same thing and vice versa, all three of us, etc., with other people, as we enter this space, because that consciousness, you might say from a human perspective, has a mind of its own, which is what you were talking about earlier. It's the you, me, we, and it. So either the you, me, we, and it made it all, or it didn't. And I personally feel like we all made it. And what that does for me is allow me to go through like the last 24 hours where I had massive downloads, massive lucid dreams, you know, sweating like a dog. My fingers and my hands are just like, rattling with nerves and electricity and the magnetism and and to go, no, we're soul, period. And we're coming into something, and I guess that's what is reflected by the biblical metaphor, biblical 1,000 years of peace. Like, we earned this, and
Yeah, we created it.
you know what I mean. Like, of
Right.
course we did, but we didn't know what the other side was going to be, because the other side required us stepping into the unknown, which is faith in ourselves and each other. And so part of that for me, I guess, is owning all of it, owning the Illuminati, owning all the horrific, tragic things that we see from a human perspective, and understanding there's something beyond all of us that is the yin yang. So for every prejudice, bias, stand I take, there's another side I can't see. You take any two people in any different aspect, and you say, one side will say, call it political, religious, whatever.
Mm.
So, and Gareth is very right at that. They're taking these basic components, which is really polarity, distorting them to where they create these differences and separation that aren't real and become very personal. But if you take two people, this one thinks they're the bad guy and this one thinks they're the bad guy. So they're both actually forcing intentionally, their truth, their beliefs, whatever you want to call it. It's still coming together. It's still intersecting. But the bottom line
Yeah,
is, like you were saying with Tom, there's never been a physical density of such a nature, and that's one thing. But to understand, we've come into an awareness where even in this physical density of the first of its kind, we are still coming into connection with all of our multidimensionality, which ultimately means our unity and our oneness. And there's something incredible in that potential, especially in the physical realm, right?
sure. Well, it's reflected in things like open contact. Um, the unity of the truth of who we are is coming to us from the physical. And it's in so doing, it's destroying the disunity of the lie in the process. And that's going to take all sorts of physical form. But in the end, physical form all comes from one energy. So it's all one. but we experience it in a linear, well, in a in a physical way, in a sense. There's an illusion of separation, and it serves a purpose. Really, you take away the inversion from this reality, and you let it come back to what Tom described as life may return to that which we always intended. And like I saw when I was two, all that happens is you step into the next moment and you recognize the truth of who you are in that moment, but in a different form.
Mm,
So there's no
mm,
conflict with what the different forms take. It's all
mm.
unity. So there's love with every moment. Like Tom said, for that we love you. Do we love life unconditionally? The reason we would do that is because there's no separation between the truth of who we are and the truth of where we are. It's all one. It's all love. So ET is a reflection of that. Planets are a reflection of that. Nature is a reflection of that. I mean, everything is a reflection of that. So either it reflects to us the fear we have of separation and the unknown, and we think that's coming to us from the outside, proving we should be afraid. It's the other way around. Or it's going to reflect to us the truth of who we are. Now,
Mm.
we're coming through a process where our ability to stay separate and in conflict with everything is running out of road fast. And either, as Tom said, it's better for you. Either we go, you know what? I've got a problem. My life does not work, and it doesn't matter where I go, I can't make anything change. But here I am. What's going on? Or you, no, there's nothing to see. There's nothing to see. There's nothing to see. And all that does. This is why he said it's better for you if you choose it. The people who are resisting that reality that their life doesn't work as I'm living it, all they're doing is putting more and more energy or force into the force that's going to hit them, which is building up. Now, the energy coming to this planet is building up in a lot of intensity, and it's taking a lot of negative energy, the repercussions of our belief system, killing the truth of who we are for 12,000 years in the human race. That's had a lot of repercussions. That energy is now being resolved. It's being removed. So we're
Mm.
all feeling it leaving, both
Mm.
on a personal level and for the human race as a whole, because we're all one and the same. That's a lot of energy, and
It's
going,
happening.
it's happening to everyone anyway.
That's what I
So
mean.
the
It's
more you
happening.
resist it, the more intense it has to punch that resistance out. So we're
Spoken from
creating.
spoken from experience, or you wouldn't be able to carry the truth frequency like that. You know what I mean? Like it, and because the linear is going away, what you're describing so eloquently is happening to everybody. And this is what's leveling the playing field. We've already seen the teachers, gurus, the old school. I'm not saying old school in a bad way because things that got you to a certain point are very relevant. They're not necessarily meant to go with you. We're
Right.
reaching a place where we lose it
Yeah.
all the identities, all the stories, all the narratives, all, even in my opinion, any
That's the
focus,
grief everyone's feeling.
any, but like
Well,
any,
Katie,
huh?
Katie knows that.
But
Yeah,
like I'm
she's
just saying, like any, Katie, you're gonna have to jump in here. But I'm just saying, Katie, like any focus on something or someone else. I don't care if it's a person or a group. I don't care what it is. I am emitting separation and division in this realm. I am soul,
mhm.
but our marching orders seem to be walk the fucking talk. And that's not normal, not even in light worker and star seed and awakening circles. This is a place where I'm looking at myself and and well, the only way I can say is like I said it before, is we step into this circle where we're butt naked to the soul.
Right.
And everyone's ass is showing and everyone's soul is showing because the human experience as we move forward is going to be the highest point of the
Mm-hmm.
reverence we have in a multidimensional sense for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go, whoa,
And like and
those some bad motherfuckers. You
like
know what I
what
mean?
like what you were saying before about the energy, Gareth saying that this is happening for all of humanity right now, whether we know it or not, this is happening. And if you don't know it, you have your head in the sand. There isn't a lack of evidence about the lies that are out there, the corruption in the governments, the wackadoo, Holly weird. There's no lack of evidence if you open your eyes. So energy doesn't lie. So what we've been shouldering, the people who are watching this live, and Gareth for all of his life, and you for your awakening, what we've been shouldering consciously right now is a lot of weight, is a lot of isolation, it is a lot of self-doubt, of questioning if we're insane, like people with perfectly normal, toe the line, pay the taxes, believe this, that, or the other, have the jobs, raise the kids. Spiritual awakening turns you in the weird fucking ant in the corner of the room in an instant. And so now, because this energy doesn't lie and it is coming up and out and through all of us, we are those who have chosen it consciously, everyone watching this, those who have chosen it consciously will feel a reprieve while the rest of the world is thinking it's all going to hell and the apocalypse is upon us and everything's crumbling and burning. The rest of us choosing it consciously are going, oh, thank God.
Exactly.
Let it burn. Let the weight on my shoulder be passed around to others. Welcome. There's going to be no blame. There's going to be no, you should have known. You should have been faster. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have taken that jab, blah, blah, blah. There's not going to be any of that. There's going to be welcome. Thank God you're here. We need you. We've been waiting.
Mm. Thank God it's finally changing is the feeling. Yeah, that's the actuaries said they called it the great coming together and the great falling apart. And that's exactly right. For everyone who's chosen it, we've all been going through this process for several years, multiple years, and there's plenty of people on this call who maybe even just recently their whole life's fallen apart. There's a lot of grief associated with losing everything you thought you knew. It's just that the everything we thought we had was the problem. And being stripped bare of the problem feels like you're losing who you were and everything you had.
But
But
it's awesome.
we're all getting to exactly, and we're all getting to a point where we've been through enough of that, so that, like Katie's saying, when this big picture world finally starts, the cracks finally start to show in the mainstream media and the mainstream narrative. For us, it's going to be finally here it is, and there's a collapse involved, and yeah, the human race has to understand what it's given its energy to. We have to see what we've created, that there is a there is an agenda, it is dark, and it's okay to look at that. In fact, it's not just okay. The only way for that to not have any power is for us to see it for what it is. So this whole thing with spirituality has been a real double-edged sword. Like the way the Arcturians showed it to me years ago was you get pulled out of yourself as a child, then you get into an opposite mode of being, which they called being doing. You stop being like I was two. I saw everything was one and there was no conflict. It is, I am, that's it. We get pulled into having to be someone to get love, which means it's all about what you do. Then we hit the wall. This is what a lot of us have gone through. You hit this point where it's like everywhere you look, nothing's working. It's all dead. Your life all the things you used to get joy from just don't work anymore, and you don't know what's going on. So you reach the end of that. Then you go through the other side of the coin, a phase in spirituality where you're looking for who you are, what you've lost. So they call that doing being. Now you're still doing, but you're doing instead of being what you do, you're trying to do coming back to yourself. Now that's what a lot of people get caught in that trap where they say the only way to get away from that darkness is to say, no, you know what, I'm going to create the light. Now there's truth to it, but if you're doing it to get rid of that darkness, you're still getting rid of who you really are, and you're making it more real. So a lot of people in the spiritual realm now, and this background energy has changed. A lot of people who have been doing this work for a long time in the groups, there's a whole energy shift happening which is really a lot of people are coming to the end of, you know what, I've tried everything, like Katie said, I've tried everything and nothing's worked. I'm still back where I was. I haven't moved an inch. What they don't realize, and we're coming to, and this is the great coming together as the world collapses, they've been taken by source. Tom said, we are bringing you back across the valley you should not have crossed. Their head, everyone's subconscious layers have been um, fractured up again, made more fluid. So there's no conscious sense of any progress when that happens because it's below consciousness. But what's actually going to happen for all of the people on this call who have actually been working through this process, they've had the temerity to say, you know what, there's something going on. I've let go of control because what can I do? I don't know what the problem is. You've had your subconscious rearranged. Now that's going to start to come up into your consciousness. Epiphanies, click, click. You'll
Hmm.
hear things you heard 3 years ago in a new way, etc. Things, momentary experiences. They may be small, but
Yep.
you're going
Hmm.
to start to become more aware of the progress you've made. Wow, actually, now that scenario is going to accelerate massively when the world out there starts to fall apart because
Mhm.
the information about how it worked and how it got us, the control narrative, the mainstream media, how it controls our perception of reality around COVID, that coming out is going to click a lot of
Yeah.
dots. Where it's all coming from, how the World Health Organization
Yeah,
operated,
yeah,
how
yeah.
the
I
UN was
mean, if
created.
you look at it, it's all false flag frequency. You know, trying to explain this stuff is it can be very contemporaneous. It can be very comprehensive. It can be very even confusional. But you know, the point is, right? All of this stuff has been subjected on us. So the narratives no longer hold weight. Not even the narratives that brought
Mhm.
us the message,
Mhm.
because we
They're all
are what we are compiled in this present moment together. We're like quasars, we're like light beams, we're like, you know, suns, right? And, you know, I just feel like that we've entered this space
Right.
where I don't know is the middle road. It's a zero point. It's a place where I can say, you know what? Um, I know we're on the same trajectory. I know we're walking the soul highway. I know that polarity still exists, but I cannot allow this duality to set me apart from anything and anyone else. And as words are spells, how I describe my fellow mirror and reflection is very, very important because each time I do that, I'm 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 retracing my steps in the overlay of the illusionary grid that promotes separation. There's a difference between separation and individualization, which is a
Mhm.
basis of the original Earth grid, where we're each a fractal that is not complete without the whole, as a whole is not complete without us. Okay? So we're in virgin territory. The information is not what we've gotten, it's what we're getting now. And so this is why I hold these types of interactions in the highest regard, is because I come into them and when I leave, I'm not the same,
Yeah.
you know? So I
Yeah.
want to thank you both because I don't even know what's going on here. I just know, I just know that we're elevating and all the stories have to go. All the
Yeah.
identities have to go. I don't care how it's happened. I've talked to, like I said, over 4,000 of these shows. I've heard some amazing things.
Mhm.
The importance is who were, and I was laughing earlier when Katie was telling her story, and then Gareth, you followed up with more of a general story of how it happens. But I will tell you, 95% of the people that have come on this show have told the same story in the same way that had me laughing when Katie was giving her own rendition of it. They've all had the same thing happen. Some of these people go back to the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s. Mine was 2011. And the other thing I would say too is whoever comes into this field can only come into this field with a certain openness, which doesn't mean that other fields exist that can offer me things that I could gain from or not. I'm just saying like begets like.
Mhm.
And so we enter this space where the real-time intelligence is somehow or another being catalyzed by the verbalization of it using all the frequencies that we can to an ever expanding vibration. of an exchange, of an experience. And as everything is upside down, as my soul's told me, like you don't have 50 million people watching, but it's upside down because that's actually that false flag frequency that is the projector running out. And the bottom line is it's an all or nothing proposition. So let's jump into into these waters and continue to swim. Nobody has any answers in here, but we get the answers as we swim
Yep.
together in these spaces. And that's the truth.
Yep.
And I would
Yep.
say this, the last thing I would say is, because Gareth, I think, brought it up. The feminine part of me, the feminine part of Gareth, the feminine part of Katie, and everyone else, with no distinction to their physical gender, is going to be the voice that comes out. The
Mm.
soft, powerful, don't fuck with mama voice. You know how it is? Like when you're a kid, you know what I mean? Like when the mother goes, hey, that's it. Everybody listens. And it's also the endless, infinite compassion of the mother frequency within all of us that if we want to put it in human terms as a metaphor, she can have 15 children and one of them's an axe murderer and goes to prison, but she goes every weekend. She doesn't love that one any less or any more than any other of them, that never gives up. This is the part of us I feel like that's really coming out. And it's requiring tremendous you know, people say letting go, but identities. I mean, these things are so subtle. They're
Mm.
so subtle. Any
There's so much
differentiate,
subtle in this.
right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Any
Yes.
differentiation that we make truly is a narcissistic frequency. It truly is. Now, in the soul perspective, in the soul realm, we know there's no hierarchy, but there is layers. There are layers that come through the robes that we earn through the experiences that we have. But here in this realm, what we need is the 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 frequency, the tractor beam frequency that we all carry innately, that we know we're the same. So whatever else there is, fuck this shit. You know what I mean? Like I don't
Leveling
care
of the
about the
playing
stories. I don't
field.
care about nuclear wars. I
Yep.
don't care about any
Yep.
of this bullshit because we are the columns of light. And I feel like that's what we have been prepared for, many of us. And if you look at the linear timeline, and again, not to group people, you know, this group, that group, but there are some people, as y'all both talked to, Gareth was talking about it, that have been doing the internal work. And for me, the more the evolution happens, the less I'm focused on the external. And that's been a problem. That's been hard to let go. Not so much to let go of the movie script and the global thing, but as we pull the circles in, as we come in closer to ourselves, the circles closest to ourselves, connections, relationships, business enterprises, personas that we had, whatever the case is, are dropping. And here we are in that one circle that we all share, which is the place where we're in the, you know, the brutal, naked, butt naked of the soul. It's very humbling. Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's you know, it's going to get very real over the next 18 to, 12 to 18 months out there
Yep.
in the world. But that's really it's the physical expression of the process that everybody who's had the question, what's going on? It's we've created the reversing the inversion in the physical. So it has to happen. It's happening because of that. I remember Tom describing to me, he described ETs that have been sort of orbiting around the human race since we were put together. He put into three categories: the benevolent, you could say the malevolent, those are the interference, and this third group, those sitting on the fence waiting to see what you will do. So this whole grand experiment called the human race, which was created as a trap for those of the interference, this dark element that's been destabilizing the foundation of the universe, gradually building up over time, trying to make the ego that controls the center of the universe, which can't happen. Consciousness can only be there. You can't have a thought first before consciousness. But that's the center of those of the interference. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get self-aware life to choose ego over heart, to such a degree that it takes over the universe. And that's been creating an imbalance within dark and light, within masculine and feminine, the illusion of separation throughout the universe. It's affected all self-aware life throughout this universe. So the human race was put together to bring balance back to the Force, is the way it was put in Star Wars, which was, as I said, given to Lucas by Tom, by God. There was a soul contract. So there's this process the human race is going through and was designed to go through. We're the only composite race in the universe. We're made up of multiple ET races. Our DNA is made up. We're basically a microcosm.
Universal. We're universally seated.
Well, we're a microcosm of the entire galaxy, and that makes us a microcosm of the entire universe. And the way they said, the way Tom put it, all eyes are on Earth. So,
But let me ask you this, Gareth. Is this a higher level narrative? Is our unity, is our individual and collective consciousness, micro, macro, unified in a place beyond that or not, in your opinion? There's no right or wrong answer. I'm just saying, I feel like this consciousness that we're at is saying, show up, let go of everything that you know, that you think you know, that you don't know, whatever, and show up in this space in every given moment and be butt naked to the soul and let it roll. Like,
oh,
is
it's,
that
it's
part of a narrative of a personal experience and or a collective perfect explanation of the collective experience?
well, I mean,
And does it matter? What does it matter? Does it override where we're at now? You know what I mean? I'm just speaking directly and bluntly and openly to learn because I don't, this stuff is not, it's not sticking to me anymore. Not the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent. None of it is. It's like, oh my God, I am God right now.
it's all
I
God.
am God. And I'm
It's all
looking at my
good.
reflection.
The only
Hold
problem
that,
we've
hold
got is
that.
we don't know that we don't believe it's all God. There's too many parts of us, a
But if
lot of
I'm
parts.
God, there is no problem.
We got separated from unity before our mind had a chance to
But
discern
that's
it.
the story. That's the
And now we're
narrative.
coming back to
That's what
that
I'm saying.
point.
Yeah, I get
That's
that.
the
I get
story
that.
is what we
The Cali,
discern the
yeah,
lie.
yeah,
Our whole mind was built up around discerning the lie, but we thought it was the truth. Now we've been brought back to the reality. No, no, no. The way you're describing reality in yourself is a lie. So that's being dismantled
yeah,
gradually in
yeah.
layers for every human on the planet in certain ways. So it can be replaced by the narrative, the reality that everything is one. And that has consequences for how you relate to each moment. So
Hmm.
you don't receive the full truth of the universe in one go. You receive it one
No.
moment at a time. That's how it
Yeah,
works.
one painful
So
afternoon at a time.
exactly. We're coming back to that reality,
Yeah.
the fact that you can't work everything out ahead of time. And if you do that, you just shut life right down to zero. And that's why
Yeah.
everyone's life feels so bad. We've drained all the
Oh, I don't
life
know
out of
about it feeling bad. I don't see so many people feeling bad. Certainly people being uncomfortable, but I think that's part of the human condition. And what we're actually doing as far as writing new code is how to handle these things and merge the uncomfortable with the comfortable. You know, it's like the human being is on point. We're on point. And the more or less we degrade or separate or divide that from the rest of our multidimensional makeup is part of the path. And I think that's where the pain and the suffering come in, because we want to compare it to all the bells and whistles and the shiny shit and the light language and the past life memories and the experiences we've had to learn these things and to anchor these things in on an individual basis. And if we're lucky enough and blessed enough like you to do it with other people, and I can say that too through my experiences with Soulogy all over the place, right? In physical incarnations, in physical experiences in particular, because of the depth of the density and the fusion and convergence of all those things that we are composed of unconsciously and consciously. So I guess what I'm saying is like, you know, these narratives are not holding water with me because I know they're part of the same false flag frequency. They all come from the same place. So it's like if I stand over here and I have to acknowledge all of these streams, then that's where I've been. But if I leap over here and see everybody from the same place and walk the talk and let go of everything that we know that I know is how it starts, then I feel like that's how we create. And what are we creating? I have no idea. But whatever it is, it's I know this. It's more open, it's more accepting. It's not about, oh my God, this and oh my God, that, like you started the thing out, Katie, with the whole if I throw an absolute down on the universe, I've already conditioned my love. So I cannot love anything more outside of myself than I love myself. I am the universe. I am God. And if that's the case, these narratives to me are going to drop real quick. I'm not saying that things aren't going
Mhm.
to happen, but I really feel like they're
Mhm.
going to drop quick. But it's only done here.
My awakening brought such a higher perspective and a direct experience of oneness. I had 3 days where I experienced the oneness of everything. Um, and basically, like, we were the thought bubble in a cartoon. Everything, like that cat, this counter, this computer, you guys, everything, we're in the thought bubble. We are God. The thought bubble is God. So I experienced oneness in such a higher perspective that I everyone I saw I was in love with, and I'm still there. I'm still absolutely in love with everyone I see. I love everyone. I'll tell strangers I love them in the line at the market. I mean it, because I understand the true nature of oneness and our eternal nature. That being said, being in this dense physical experience doesn't make that the easiest life. Like, I can't just be a guru in India in a cave. So I'm still in the human experience. And earlier in the show, like, I was on the phone with my girlfriends, on a Zoom call with my girlfriends earlier, and I was saying that, my relationship with my son is a little tumultuous. We love each other, but it's tumultuous. And I said to you, like, rejection, I don't even care about rejection anymore. But I'm, of course, living the human experience of feeling the rejection, even though I know it's all one, it's all a lesson, it's all an experience, it's all an offering, it's all a gift. We're still here to have the human experience and the density and the feelings and the pain and the grief and the joy and the love and all of it. It's all one. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I never
Yeah.
would have thought of these things,
I mean,
5 years ago.
it's yeah, but I mean, but this is what I'm saying. Like, and maybe because I'm affected by doing all these shows since 2017, like even though I've been able to watch from this seat the evolution through the stories, you know, the congruence of the stories, even though the stories were different, what exactly was happening energetically? What I'm seeing now is something totally different. It's a place where people are saying, we're here. We're actually here. We don't have to talk about it. In fact, the more we talk about it, the more we fuck it up, because there's something going on that's great. It's not even telepathy. It's many
It
different
is, though.
streams. Well, it's telepathy, but it's intuition, it's
Yes.
imagination,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
instinct, it's innate, it's in the
It's all coming
body, it's in the
online.
field. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that oneness that he was speaking of that's inevitable. It's here. It's bigger than all of us. And
Hmm.
so as I've gone through this 4,000 shows of the you know, the oral history, right? The new oral history, the people's stories. I feel like we've come into a space now where that has penetrated to a point that something else has clicked on. I might say it like this. There's an oral history that's been developed on the earth with the boots on the ground, the physical beings. But there's another oral history that encompasses that, like concentric circles. Like you have a circle in the middle, you have one around it, and those things are coming in. And through that is an even greater, obviously, because many people have connected to the multidimensionality in various ways over these years, right? But
Hmm.
there's something about the human now, and it's like the no bullshit zone. and something about the human taking responsibility and accountability within themselves and staying in their own lane that further activates the rest of it and brings on the most acute senses and attributes of, I would say, the multidimensional human being, as Garrett so eloquently has explained in the last couple of shows, that is the universal seed. And so if we are the universal seed, then that includes the physicality and the moment and the presence and the choices we make moment by moment and the elimination of time and the elimination of space. We're heading into true virgin territory. And nobody knows what it is, but I feel that what we're finding out is we know what it takes. And what it takes is like playing strip poker. And just stripping your clothes off. You're going to lose. It's bigger than all of us. Let's step into the space and see what happens.
And you lose nothing.
Well, that's right. That's right. And when I reawoke and 14 years ago, my soul kept telling me about the story of Job. And I only heard of the patience of Job. And so, as we've all experienced, your universe will start showing you different things. Like I go into a bookstore, I see this book, and all of a sudden it's Robert Frost talking about the story of Job. The same thing I've been feeling now, 14 years later. And the story of Job is really about that person, that energy, that consciousness, you, me, Gareth, and all these people here, and everyone here that's innate, because we've all come here as valiant souls on this earth, regardless of what we think. We might all be beaten at the same vibration. It just doesn't look that way. We don't know. And that's one thing we have to let go of. But the point is, everything taken away from that consciousness that was embodied as Job came back a millionfold. So to your point, yeah. You let go. You can't let go and say, oh, I'm going to let go because I know I'm going to have it on the other side. You truly have to let go. And all of those letting goes isn't about people, places, or things, or things that we've, adhered to, or things that we have, become hobbies, or whatever the case is. They're us. They're letting go of everything we identify with us, even though we think we don't. Because as we do that, we become more embodied in that which we are, which is God, goddess, or however you want to put it. It's virgin territory and deep waters.
Yeah, well, I mean, God said to me that the manner of transition of the human race has never been done before in the history of the universe. So the way we're transitioning is unique because we're going through. You can think of transition like death. What is death? Well, there is no death. You simply change form, but the you that changes form is eternal. So the physical vehicle that you experience the illusion of separation through, which is just basically God experiencing itself, having the direct experience of itself, it needs to be broken up into parts that don't know the all in order to do that. So we're a soul, we know all in our heart, so we step into life and we have this illusion of separation to step into and have a direct experience of coming back into unity with the all it is. That's really all it is, all that's happening. But we change vehicles where we go to different planets, we experience physically incarnate into different realms of experience to do that. And so the human race, instead of having to transition out of one physical form and into another, we're transitioning through staying in one form, coming back into that form at a higher dimension. We're coming out of 3D as we are right now, moving up into 5D. It's the same. Now, the only other time that's happened is when the Nazarene transitioned, and that's why he did it. So he took a template of the entire transition, who we are, our relationship to everything, including ET, because he oversaw the seeding of planet Earth as a being that God identified as the hawk, which is where Horus came through. He set up the civilization we know as Atlantis. He oversaw the seeding of planet Earth, so all the different races involved, how they came in, the order they came in, the role it played in putting the human race's genetic makeup together. Then he incarnated as a composite, as an intense homeopathic dose of the truth of who we are in the form when I was the Nazarene. He took that into our collective unconscious when he transitioned, which he could have stopped at any time, God said. It was part of the plan, so that it could be brought up into physical consciousness when the energy wave coming from the star hit our planet, which is what's happening now. So that force that's hitting everybody internally, that's causing us all to become disillusioned with our life. That's the feeling tone a lot of people have right now, is disillusionment. Ramana said disillusionment is the final state of mind before enlightenment. Enlightenment isn't a big deal. It's the truth of who we are, he also said.
Hmm.
And that's what, so this disillusionment is the impact of the Nazarene, the frequency of the truth of who we are coming up through the subconscious of the entire human race into each person. And how we're handling that with our conscious mind is an individual process, like you're saying, Todd. We're all dealing with it in different ways, or we're not dealing with it, pretending like it's not happening, or we're giving up to it. But it's not something we can see either. And that has to happen, because the part of us that has to see everything is the problem, the ego that controls. You can't see everything from your head. You can only see it from your heart in each moment. And the mind's being forced to come out of judgment, which is the inversion, which is a fight or flight response. We need to judge distance when you're running from a tiger. Judgment isn't meant to be qualitative, like some people are better than others and I'm doing better now. And that's just a trauma response. So coming back to discernment, what am I really seeing right now? I'm disillusioned with everything. I'd rather leave the planet than keep going. But what's really going on? That's forcing the mind to come back into sacred masculine, which is simply to discern the right step to take in each moment, which the mind can't wrap its head around ahead of time. You can't know 50
Mm.
steps in
It's
advance what your soul.
spontaneous. That's
You can only
that's
do,
part of the nature where
you can only do
Flow.
it one
it's
moment at a time.
spontaneous, you know.
Yeah, you
Uh,
have to live it one moment at a time. So we're coming
yeah.
back to that.
Well, and then what? But okay. So let's go a little deeper before we pull out of here. Um, so when you go back to the very beginning of this show and the what do you call it, allegory that you told, you know, as you were being given, the minute we think about it, we're fucked. Okay. I mean that's how Todd speaks to his soul, and the universe speaks to me. But my point is, the mind is has different connotations. I get what you're saying, and but the reality for me has been more and more encompassing and more obvious every day as I wake up and say I don't know anything to a greater degree. That is just to go out and do it, to feel it. And the mind, as I thought it was, or that we thought it was, is going away, like that false flag frequency. And I went through some of that today. I went through some of that. Well, is this you? Is it the other person? What's really going on here? And I think there's an element of that. And that really is kind of the human version of what Gareth was talking about a while ago, like 5 or 10 minutes ago. What does this actually look like? What is happening is one thing, and I've heard many different narratives, but what does it actually feel like? And to me, the greatest
Oh,
intel seems to come from the individual's story of their personal evolution in the moment. Because 3 days ago, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 months ago, I was a totally different person. Like I mean, like night and day, right? And and so what's relevant to me now is right now. Like, you know, like right now. And I don't want to go into personal details because I still am sitting with the sacredness of all of that. But it's literally like, is there anything else but what's in front of you right now? And even like this third week with Gareth, and now that you've joined us, I feel like it's a reflection of a natural progression.
mm-hmm,
It's a place that's happening organically.
mm-hmm.
I have several other streams like this running for the past 3 weeks. And so something's going on. There's a reunion, a rendezvous, energetically speaking, that's not in the normal context of a human comprehension of how it will look or what it sounds like or what it will be.
Mm.
It's just going into this space where our energy becomes the prevalent part, and our humans bittersweetly fade away. But to Garrett's point, my final point is it's happening in our body. And that's like the hardest evidence.
Can't
I
fake
mean,
that shit.
right? I mean, like,
Cannot fake
you know what I
that.
mean? Like, I am here to live 800 years. I am here to teleport. I am here to multi-locate. I've had flashes of that, as you have, and you have, and others have. This is our natural nature, and it's weird, and it's strange, and it's a bit frightening at times. But it's all or nothing. Because I'm not here
Truth
for
or
any. I'm not.
die.
I'm not here for anything less.
I told Gareth that
Yeah.
after my awakening, I absolutely said it's at this point it's truth or die.
Yeah.
I don't I don't
Yeah.
want to live any other way. I don't want to have
Yeah.
fluffy conversations. The people in my life right now, I can say all the weird shit all day long I want to. It's great.
I've said
Well.
that to Katie a few times that she's gone right to the core of the transition, which is to question everything, regardless that there's no opinion that's higher than the truth. And it strips
Yeah.
some of the sacred cows away from you. And it's intense when you let that in.
Yeah.
But the fact that you have invited, I invite everybody on the call, like there's the truth of who you are is untouched by any of it. Lack of a belief in an absolute reality. That's the reality you're coming to. And every mind conclusion that is different from that is the only problem we've got. And as hard as it is at times to let what you know go and sit in not knowing anything, that's the exact that's what the transition is all about, because now you've got a gap where the truth can show itself for the first time. Your
Mm.
mind isn't full of beliefs, that there's no room for reality. So there is a gap, and emotional intelligence is the ability to hold the unknown without acting or reacting, to let the unknown be there, and it'll show itself to you.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
That's why the Arcturians called what's coming next the great coming together and the great falling apart. So every one of you on this call, if you've done that, if the truth is all you care about, you just can't see it yet, and everywhere you look, all you see is a lie, you're in the best place you could be. That's the best place you could be, because now life is going to show you what it really is. And it's worth loving, and you are worth loving. In fact, the Arcturians show me the renaissance that's coming on the other side of this collapse, and it is a collapse. And ET will help us with this in a very big way. The renaissance was like the color explosion of creative energy that's coming from us through each other to each other is going to recreate our entire civilization, everything, the legal system, the financial system,
Educational, everything.
all of it. So what Atlantis was before it collapsed, that's what's coming back. And everything that has to happen between now and then is just the process of it happening. So let go of control, let it happen. It's the best thing you can do. You're in the right. If you haven't got a clue what's going on, like you said, Todd,
Yeah.
just be
Yeah.
willing not to know and let the truth be what it is. And it is
Well,
divine.
like you said, let it show you, right? Let it
It,
show
it,
you. Like in every moment, if I'm going to go walk to the market, let it show me, not have, like you said, do I go left? Do I go right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. And,
up in
what
the same
the
place.
Arcturians said to you, to me, I mean, I heard it. I've had some dealings with Arcturians, which was very important for my journey. I won't go into it. But the thing that I gained from that consciousness, which I see as part of me, no different than the Jesus part of me or the Kuan Yin part of me, as time goes on, that this is the space. I saw a picture somebody did, I guess with AI on X, and it was a picture they must have, put in, give me a picture of all the gods and goddesses walking on the beach, and it was this magnificent picture, and I just put it up without words, and people responded to it. I feel like that's us. I feel like that we are the boots on the ground, and
Mm-hmm.
we are doing this, and it's in very unconventional terms based on the past paradigm, because it's not about marches. There'll be some, or boycotts, are movements of the traditional sense. This is something that not only is going down, but it's been going down for a long, long, long time. And and so the prize is what happens. It's not predestined. And even given everything that Gareth is saying, which I believe 100%, there is
Mhm.
one element that is available in every given moment, which is the only moment there is, the eternal moment, and that is our free will. Our free will with the pure intention, impeccability, integrity, unity, to kind of put some spin, some polish on it, like you're going to shoot a great pool shot, and you put some English on it, to put our own little spin on it. That free, unencumbered, liberated, sovereign uh, uh, energy that is a fractal and understands its relationship as a drop in the ocean in a given moment that can express in that given moment until it gets given the next opportunity. But
Yeah,
I really feel like the biggest spin of it all is we're doing it with each other. And
there's
that's
nothing
what's
in
so different.
there's nothing in the slavery system that can exist in that light.
Mm,
It's not possible for the system of slavery to exist when people are willing to take responsibility for their free will choice to let life show them what it is in each moment or tell it what it is. And we can tell it what it is. We've got free will to do that. We can control life and edit it to suit our particular angle at the time. But if we don't like what that creates, simply make a new decision. Okay, how
mm,
about I try something new? Let's let go of control. I'll shut
yeah.
my eyes and turn left or right and see where it takes me.
Yeah.
And trust me when I tell you that process will strip what you don't need
I did
from you
that the other night.
and replace it with what you do.
I actually did that. I was thinking that.
Yeah, I bet, right. How'd that
Well, I
go?
mean, you realize, through your story, I realized that that's what I'd done. I just didn't use
Hmm.
the template of do I go left or right, which I think is very hardcore. And I know a couple of guys like you, oh, by the way, that have lived extraordinary lives that I don't think I would want to. It was a little more intense than my own. But I
Go on.
tried it the other night. I just took a walk after a big day, and I was like, because there's only a few streets in this town, right? But and I was just like, okay, I'm turn here, turn there, turn here, turn there. But it is a great. I think it's a really great process or exercise. It's like a
Mhm.
meditation to me because
Mhm.
you'll have thoughts, right? But you don't you don't follow those
You're not
thoughts.
a prisoner to them.
Right. There's something else, and that
Yeah.
it's that golden
Exactly.
thread we talked about in the past shows, but it's like this innate part of us that is that all knowing. And we're coming into
Yeah.
this in our physical, in the physical density
Has to
that
be
we are.
physical.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. And to me, I know because I know other dimensional experiences, this is what we do. We do it together, but we've not done it here. So the upside of us doing it here, even if it's two people, three people in a given moment, is ultra extraordinary. Like the math
Mhm.
is totally off the charts. It has nothing to do, even with, in my opinion, with the 369. It has to do with our multidimensional, you might say our souls, higher self souls, and the physical and everything in between. And it's like,
Yeah,
okay,
well, that's it. The physical has to match the truth of who we are because that's what we've chosen to wake up to the truth of who we are. So, like when you do let go of control, you'll be taken where you don't want to go. But because you
Mhm.
decided to let go of control because you have trust that there's something to let go of control too, now you're not arguing with the experience like you were. You're going into a situation with fresh eyes. You're saying, okay, this is serving a purpose. I can't see what it is yet. Now, what happens over time? Is you look back a year later at the sequence of experiences you went through and you can see a pattern, you can see a
mm,
purpose behind it that
mm,
you couldn't see before. And
Yeah.
that's what
mm,
everyone's being invited to do now.
Yep.
So, don't
mm.
stress about the feeling that you are getting put in situations that are making you feel worse because you've asked essentially for the truth, and that's what happens. You're getting stripped of the belief systems that you don't need. You just
Yep.
don't realize you don't need them yet. You won't until later. And Katie, you'll testify to that, I'm sure.
Mm. Yeah.
That happened to me today.
Happens every day.
But you described it perfectly, brother. I mean, that's what it is. And I even laid down and I said, I'm asking for all of my team to come in, and I said, help me to align with the most pure intention, et cetera, et cetera. And as I did it, it actually set off the second post that I put up today that my soul said, you got to put this up. The tones went off, the feminine, the masculine, the universal, and it was a very, very full experience. And I knew I was okay. Now, did it make me feel 100% better? No. Did it remove all my confusion? No. Was my human still evolved? But I knew I was on the right track. I knew it. And
You
I
just
feel
couldn't
like
describe it.
that's kind of a microcosm of the whole thing, which you described earlier too, in general terms. The whole thing is coming down to the exact same experience in the moment by moment, which is basically what Katie was laughing about and talking about, and what I'm talking about, which is the human's not going anywhere. Like the human is the gold, and it's
Tell
formidable.
my
It's more
human
than
that.
right. Like it's more than, but it's more than formidable. It's not. It's not my identity. It is. It's like spirit flesh. It's a soul in flesh. And as much as I can carry that forward, the reality of it uh, comes in, which has many, many streams to include the physical, emotional balance, physical transformation, regeneration, emotional balance, mental acuteness, etheric awareness, and sensitivities, and skills and abilities. I mean, this is big time. Like, this is fucking huge.
It's all
And
This
coming.
is this is a big, beautiful game. And when we figure out how to play it, it's absolutely magnificent and miraculous.
mm,
That's
And when
it.
we figure out the rules, that there are no rules, we're so powerful.
except for the golden rule, right? What goes around comes around.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's the thing.
I
That's
mean,
the
Yeah.
that's the only
that's
law
how you play.
I've ever. I mean, to me, that covers all of them.
That's how you play the game. When
That's
you know
it.
it's all
That's it.
one,
Yeah,
then
that's it. Yeah,
then you know
we
that
talked about that. We talked
you
about that.
move
I think the
freely.
first show. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
and that's
all the religions have that saying. It's it's said differently, based on the cultural, the
They put
language.
some good stuff in there with the poison of religion. They do. They put some good stuff in there.
they
It
have.
took me 50 years to figure out that God had nothing to do with religion. It took me
Mm,
50 years to
mm.
figure that out.
Yeah,
That's what he told me. The time for religion is over. We do not need your worship. In ritual, love becomes redundant.
Redundant.
So I don't know what form that's going to take, but our whole history is going to be rewritten. And it's because each one of us on this call and everywhere around the world like us has been really willing to have our story of our life rewritten by life. Like, what is it really? And what the thing with the fifth dimension, astral travel, telepathy, etc., are all products of the fifth dimension, which is where our consciousness emerges from, what you would call our heart, our soul, our sense of knowing, intuition, higher self. It's all the same thing. That's why all space and time are one. The ramifications of us as we move up and the energy waves hitting the planet over the next year or so will elevate this a lot. So if you feel very intense waves, go with it, let it happen. It's just all mud leaving your field. But the net result is the Arcturian showed me a life review where you'll all come to a point, and I think it's going to happen pretty fast, let's say over the next 12 months, 18 months maybe, where you'll look back and see the connection between all the experiences that you've had leading to that moment and go, wow, like something deep will click inside you that you do have what it takes to meet life, and life is worth meeting unconditionally. Something will go bing, and they said in that moment, gratitude will dissolve pain. So everything we're living through right now, it's the
Mhm.
process of waking up to the truth. And in the end, who cares what it looks like? Once you're there, you won't care. It's like this just the vehicle that you got in to get to the reality that frees you from all
right.
pain and suffering, which is
I think
why
it's
we're
going to be
And
a hell of an after party. Go
and
ahead.
honestly, the depth of your suffering, the scale of the pain and the darkness that you can hold and remain in integrity, in love, like
without letting it get you.
without letting it get you, because I almost took myself out. Like, I know that's a story, but it's relevant to this. Like the depth that you can feel this darkness, see this darkness, stay here is matched exponentially by the joy that's coming our way.
Absolutely,
And beyond.
100%.
And
And
beyond.
And
it can
beyond.
never
And
leave you
beyond.
again. It can never, what's happened on this planet can never ever happen again. And you know what's coming next when we connect with the brothers and sisters in our ET family, which is we're genetically connected, is we take our direct experience of going all the way into the dark and coming all the way back to the light into the entire galaxy. So we
Yeah.
become part of the Galactic Federation and we go back out into the universe, connecting with other races who have been going through a similar
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. My soul told me 10 years ago, 10 years ago, when you guys get through with this summary life, I remember those words, um, you will be universal soldiers. You will be able to go into any corner, any planet, any place in the multiverse, as you know, as a column of light that aligns, illuminates, and heals. To use those words, but yeah, I totally. Yeah, I feel like the more time that goes on, and to your Gareth's point, I don't think it's going to be. I think we're talking like, I think from March of next year. So you said what, 12 months, 18 months? From March of next year, the shit's going to come down. And I mean, the veils are going to come down. The self awareness is going to turn on. The abilities are going to turn on. And our appreciation of our human aspects, individually and shared experiences, is going to be our strongest suit. That
Oh,
the
massive.
sheer
Big, big
gratitude,
party.
right? You know what I mean? Like the sheer gratitude of the human,
I
etc.,
know.
is going to drive us into, a whole new math, a whole new geometry, which is probably already happening now. But
Oh, big time. In fact, the
Oh yeah.
Arcturians told me in January, they said you will not end the year in the same situation with which you began it. And December was a real launch point. So 2026, and the astrology right now has never happened in human history before. It's unique. And they were all set up as markers. So you know you're in the final stage of the transition when you see these elements playing out. And that's
yeah,
what's happening right now. Like this month, September, they highlighted big time.
yeah, yeah, it's
And
completion. It's
it's
completion.
already
Well,
started.
today, I mean, look, guys, we're three people meeting on 999.
Yeah, I know.
So,
We're all
and
three people coming to completion. I
and
meant
then
by
you have
25.
next year will be a 10 and 27 will be 11. That's a master number. So
Yeah,
that to
27
me, I
is
mean, that's pretty much what I got in June, first week of June.
open
That was kind of
contact.
the timeline, which is the same thing you're saying, like 12 to 18 months. Okay.
All
So
right.
I don't know if you guys want to get together again, same bat
Love to.
time, same bat channel.
Would love
You
to.
just, would
Yes.
you? Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll
Yeah.
do it again next week and just keep it rolling and just play with it. And everybody, thank you for coming in and sitting with us and sharing space with us, allowing us to be open in a safe and secure environment. If you're interested in seeing a continuing dialogue, meet us here next week at the same time, and X, YouTube, and on my page on Facebook. But I believe maybe next week or the week after for this show and all the other shows, I'll be adding 10 or 12 other platforms like we used to. So we can get this vibration out. Thank you both for coming in,
Thank you
honoring
so
us with your
much.
presence. Yeah,
Thanks, Todd.
yeah,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much. Mwah.
Blessings of peace, love, and grace to you and yours. And I will see you